boys, let's cover the next aspect of this job, which is going to be the valve train. So we're going to do... Alright, so we've got some stage 1 old push rods. We've got chromoly locks and retainers. Like I mentioned there, we've got Interstate McBee valve stem seals. And we got some 60 pounders. That's right, boys. Should have went with conical race springs, but you know what? This is what we got. Alright, so from the boys over at Exotic, they hooked us up with a set of head studs as well as milled rocker pedestals. So let's go ahead and get into this install, boys. And to lubricate all this, no, we're not using ARP lube, boys. We're only using the finest. That's right, Hot Shot Secrets Adrenaline Assembly Lube. That's what we're using, boys. Discount code below. So, validating TDC for cylinder 1, because we're going to do cylinder 1 as the display so you guys can see how this is done, like everybody else's video. So we're going to do it nice and fun, right? Alright, so to validate TDC, so cylinder 6, that's where your crossover is going to be in crossover. So that means intake valve is just dropping while the exhaust will be loose. Another way of validating this is both intake and exhaust rocker shafts here will be loose, and you can validate that by putting feeler gauges in there. So as you can tell, 10 thousandths, 20 thousandths, damn, that's loose. They're both loose. So at this point we are good to take this whole rocker assembly off, and then we're going to do, like I said, push rods. We have milled rocker pedestals, head stud, valve springs, retainers, locks, and we're going to do valve seals, all one at a time going down the row, and then we're going to come back through and do the head studs. Alright, so we have everything disassembled here. You're going to need yourself a good set of snap ring pliers to disassemble for the new rocker pedestal setup here. As you can tell here, they have milled this already out to make room for the head stud. Aside from that, it is a factory OE style. No real change there. So everything's about the same there from a factory one. It's a 18 millimeter bolt head for the head stud, and for the rocker pedestal itself we got 13 millimeter. And we've got intake and exhaust push rods right here. We'll do a quick comparison of the new power driven stage 1s in comparison to those. Alright, so if you guys can see there's a little bit of a sizable difference there. Obviously, I think Manton makes them for these guys. But everything is about the same except for the ball tip here. Length, everything else. You got a little bit more girth in this old push rod here, which will help us push down those 60-pound valve springs. So let's go ahead and get the install going here, boys. Alright, so tooling you're going to need. So you're going to need a 6 millimeter Allen, something deep, and then you're going to need a 15 millimeter for the nut for the spring compressor tool. Now you want to validate that you are obviously centered on your spring correctly. And 2, I would say between each pass that you're going to do the next set of cylinders, make sure that you are lubricating the threads here and lubricating the threads that go into the fucking head, just to make it a little bit easier for you so you don't have to worry about stripping out the threads or anything like that. Alright, so now the fun part, once you've actually got the springs all removed, which is obviously, we're going to do the seals. So take a pair of pliers, grab on the actual old one, and just pull it on up. Not a big job, right? You want to make sure you clean up the valve stem a little bit. 13 millimeter socket, and put it in position. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. But that is pretty much the ins and outs of doing the valve seals. No big deal there. So we're going to go ahead and finish reassembly now and put the new 60-pound valve springs and chromoly retainers and locks in. Alright guys, so the boys over Exotic, there's your part numbers right there. They give you everything, nuts, washers, like I said, rocker pedestal bolts. They give you the sockets, which is also pretty cool. And they actually give you the Allen to go ahead and run the stud in. So we're gonna go ahead and match up the stud, throw a little bit of that Hot Shot Secrets assembly lube on the studs, and we'll be ready to rock and roll, boys. Alright, so torque sequence. Now this is kind of a critical thing. So from everything I've read online about how guys have done it to not have problems down the road, if you know what I mean. So you're going to run your stud in until it bottoms out. Then you're going to go half a turn out. Alright. Then you're going to reassemble everything. And then you're going to lubricate the upper portion of the stud, washer, nut, onto the pedestal. Alright. You're going to do 3 equal torque turns, all right? So it's 125 foot-pounds, so 42, 84, 125. Okay, break it into 3. Can't go wrong. Double check it afterwards. Biggest thing is when this is all said and done and you got your unit put back together, make sure that you do a hot retorque. Hot retorque is going to tell you everything, how much turn you actually get additionally. Will give you an idea of just was it torqued properly. It's 25 foot-pounds for the rocker pedestal bolt. When you get everything set, now you're going to be tight. So while everything's cold, loosely set your lash. I can't preach that enough. Because again, once this thing gets hot again and you go through a heat cycle, you're probably going to want to set lash again. So 10 and 20 thousandths on your intake. So I've got 5 more to do, and then I got the rest of the head studs to do. So I'll see you guys once we're done with all that. You see it right there. We've got all 6 cylinders done, all new push rods, valve springs, milled rocker pedestals, and the head studs that go with it. Everything pretty much went pretty well through 1 through 5. Cylinder 6 was literally the biggest pain in the ass. Not of any particular manufacturing flaws or anything like that, just cylinder 6 is a pain in the ass. If you've been down this road before, you know what I'm talking about. So we're going to go ahead and finish up with the rest of the head studs and go on from there. Alright, so we got nothing but the finest here from the boys over at Hot Shot Secrets. We got their 50-50 mix that we're going to go ahead and throw in the truck. Extended life, 150,000 miles interval. This thing's never going to see 150,000 miles ever. So, but it's nice to know we've got good coolant protection. And at this point, we've had every Hot Shots fluid on this truck is all Hot Shot Secrets. I mean, everything. If they made brake fluid, it probably would have that in there as well. So let's see if we can make a mess. Alright boys, got all our tools laid out. We're just waiting for this unit to get up the temperature. Right around about 160 degrees right now. Looking good so far. Alright, so we got the truck pretty much warmed up. A little hot right now, just waiting for all the air to bleed out. But again, I haven't put any coolant pressure on this thing, and you can already tell it's starting to drop. So we ain't got long. Let's get this thing tore down. Boys, so we got all 26 studs retorqued And like I showed you guys there, we got it up to roughly about 195 degrees. Thermostat opened, and as soon as it opened, I shut the truck off, and then at that point it was tear down. I didn't want to film that because everybody's probably seen the tear down already in this video, let alone God knows how many other videos. As far as the hot retorque went, I think I probably had 3 studs that probably moved, I want to say, not even a quarter turn. And we were torquing them a little over, probably pushing closer to 130 foot-pounds versus the factory recommended 125. So I'm impressed so far how well these fasteners have held up. The boys over Exotics, they put out a hell of a product, guys. Everybody has their feelings about them, but to be honest with you, I do feel that the biggest issues that people have with head studs is just the installation. I could be wrong, but I do believe that installation is the #1 issue that most people have problems with when it comes down to head stud failures. So we're going to go ahead and reassemble the truck. We've got new valve cover gaskets from the old boys over at Fel-Pro. We're going to slam those on there, and just the next time you're going to see this is going to be this truck out on the road, and we're going to see how well it performs. Alright boys, so we're going to close the video out here. The next video will probably be us drag racing, so to really get into a full-on, you know, hitting it on the street and stuff like that, really not worth it. Drag racing is what this thing was designed for us. So that's the reason why we're doing the mods that we're doing, was essentially for drag racing. It's already been through its first test licks today, and let me just tell you, if you are on the fence about 4K Governor Springs, I understand there's a lot of work that goes with it. It's worth it a million times. A million times I'd say it's worth it. Just listen to the throttle response alone. It is worth your money, your time. Even if you don't want to do anything performance related in this whole deal, at least do it for the simple fact of you can keep up with a common rail if it's been tuned, deleted, what have you, easily. With some simple mods, sprinkle in some seasoning, and you can definitely be up there. And this old truck, from almost 30-year-old truck, can keep up with the common rail going down the highway with no problem. So before we close the video out, I just want to thank all the companies that were involved in getting this together. Exotic for the head studs and the milled rocker pedestals. Those, I can't say enough. They've held up great so far. And they're an amazing fastener. Great company to work with. Power Driven Diesel, they came through clutch with helping us with the tooling, getting everything we needed parts wise in a timely manner, and we're just nothing but expert advice every step of the way. If I had a problem, I could call in, talk to Griffith, talk to those guys, and they'd walk me off and they'd tell me, okay, what I need to do, what was I doing wrong, if in turn I had a question. So we're going to finish out the video there, boys. Do what you always do. Like, share, subscribe. P-Pump the world. I'll see you guys in the next video.